So welcome back to GeekSmart. I'm here with one of my next projects, and this project's going to have several videos, both on this channel and over on my my review channel. But this is a pellet grill from Green Mountain Grills. This is their Daniel Boone edition, as the name badge on the top clearly states. This is a pellet grill, so it's actually like a pellet grill pellet smoker. It allows you to cook a lot of variety foods. Allows you to grill, bake, smoke, sear. There's a lot of things you can do with this thing. I will say one thing. I'm going to post a link over to Green Mountain Grill's channel. They do a lot of awesome videos on there as well. But I'm going to do some myself. So like I said, this is the Daniel Boone edition, which is kind of their mid-series. They have one a lot smaller, and they have one that's bigger. This is kind of the most popular one in my opinion, and it's pretty cool. So from the dealer, they've already built it, which building it, essentially what that means is putting the legs on. There's 4 legs, which are really easy. There's actually just 2 bolts, 10mm bolts per leg. However, the really cool thing is they actually give you the wrench to tighten up the bolts, so you don't really need any tools to do this. Everything's all 10mm, which is awesome. From the factory, and when you pull it out of the box, the first thing you do is put the 4 legs on. Second thing you do is you can put the actual chimney on, which is just 3 bolts. The bolts are already in place. You take them out, take the chimney, which is actually housed in here, and you put it on there. And then of course the cap as well. Then you place the cap, they say about 2 fingers width high, so, and just keep it there. And then the actual handle on the lid does not come on the lid. It actually, or I should say, it comes on the lid but reversed, actually, in the inside. So you remove the bolts that'll actually be facing this way, and then put the handle on the outside, and that's just for shipping purposes. But this thing's pretty awesome because this is a Wi-Fi pellet grill smoker. Gives you capability of precisely cooking food for time periods. There is a temperature probe sensor that you can actually access from your phone wherever you are. There's direct connection with Wi-Fi. There's also server mode that you can actually, so if you're at the grocery store, you can actually check to make sure the meat's still good, cooking good, and check on the internal temperature of what you're cooking, and to make sure that there actually still is pellets in the hopper and it's still burning, right? However, the thing that I'm doing on this video, like I said, is more of a setup video. So the only thing that they've done from at the dealership is put it together. I asked them specifically not to actually get any of the pellets going yet. So this is a clean unit right out of the box, other than having everything built onto it already. So I thought I'd do a real quick video of kind of the initial setup. So initial setup, obviously building it if you didn't get it from a dealer. The second part of the initial setup is getting the first bit of pellets actually going. So aside from needing pellets and such, which I got back here, the only other item we're going to have to do is actually power the unit. Now power, obviously, this is a pellet grill, which means we have to actually feed pellets in. So there's an auger inside this, inside the hopper here, that feeds pellets towards the burn box. And that's also controlled basically by a computer that's actually housed inside the electronical panel here with all the controls here. This has the temperature probe, has the Wi-Fi capability, and everything like that. So it does need power to run. It's not like a charcoal grill or anything like that. You do actually need power to run this. But aside from that, it's power and pellets, and you don't have to even have a spark, lighter, or anything to ignite it. It is self-igniting. So the one thing we'll need to start this bad boy is a little bit of power. So I'll get the power cord ran and plugged in, and then we'll actually take the guts out of this, and I'll kind of show you around on it. So this is the internals of the actual grill itself. So I apologize if the sound sounds a little bit different here, but I actually had to re-record this audio. But what we're going to do is we're going to actually pull out all the components from the grill itself, and starting with the grates, and then show you how everything kind of comes out. So here, these two are the actual just grates themselves that actually where you put your food on. Obviously, it's pretty simple in that regard. Below that, we have the drip trays. So the drip trays, there is a 2-piece. So this is the top drip tray here. That comes out first, and then you can see now we have access to the lower drip tray. It's actually kind of an ingenious almost design how it actually does there. The lower drip tray actually sits on where I guess all the drippings go, and so that comes out, and then you have the actual heat distribution box below that, so you can now see that down below where the drip tray was. That comes out as one big solid piece. That actually has a deflector unit, so it actually evenly distributes the heat. And then we'll have access to well, the actual burn box. So we're going to get a little bit closer here with the video and show you that. So this is the burn box. You can obviously see I already poured some pellets down here. That is actually the pellets I actually poured from this back here. I actually just poured them in just a minute ago, and then I realized that I didn't have the microphone on. But that's my bad. I am sorry for that, but at least you can see here that I just did pour those in. But that's part of the setup procedure. From the actual book itself, after you get everything set up in terms of the parts attached, the next one we want to do is actually pour the contents of the Ziploc bag, which essentially were those small things of pellets for the starting set. And that way we can get it all started and primed up and ready to go. But you can see here the burn box, that it is a circular burn box. There are these slit cutouts with air volume behind it. If you actually look down there, you can actually see light, because down there is the blower fan that actually pushes air kind of in a vortex, essentially. So what you do, you actually get this vortex of air that's circulating around the actual burning material, the burning pellets, and you get a better burn with less ash and essentially a hotter burn, because you're actually feeding more oxygen into the environment. So this is pretty neat. It's definitely different than other guys out there, other pellet grills out there. So this is one of the reasons I really wanted one of these grills, is because of the burn box design, in my opinion. There is no dropout box on some of the ones you've seen out there where you can slide a thing and it'll actually drop all the ash out. With this one, you will have to open up the grill a little bit to clean out, but nothing else. You're going to want to open up the grill every so often anyway, just to clean the parts, you know, from any of the dripping, so the drip pan. So taking a small shop vac and vacuuming out the ash from time to time is not a big deal, in my opinion, especially if we have a burn box that actually gets a hotter temperature and a better burn on the actual pellets. In my opinion, it's more efficient. So, but you can see everything here. So the first step, like I said, put the pellets in here. You can actually see the heat probe down here. This heat probe is actually going to be the thing that actually ignites the pellets for us. We don't have to ignite these, which means the next step after you put that in there, before we actually get pellets in this auger bit here, and that's going to be fed from the hopper, is you'd actually put all the pieces back in here. Now we're going to do that real quick, but when I actually get done, I'm going to actually take those back out so you can actually see the ignition process and what it actually looks like. So let me back up here and we'll actually put the grill back together. Okay, so the pieces that go in, heat distribution box, you'll see that there is a moon shape cutout on the one side. That's actually for the auger. So we're going to make sure that faces towards the hopper. And then this heat distribution box, you can slide back and forth a little bit to change the heat distribution a little bit. But that's where that goes. The next piece is the lower drip pan, which has this long edge on one side that essentially goes down into the drip box down here. So we're going to want to make sure it goes in that direction. You can also see a half moon cut out up here, and that's actually for the temperature probe. And essentially it just sits on this drip, the drip portion down here, and then on this upper lip by the temperature probe, which I'll show you real quick. Sorry for my shadow there, but you can see that there's a metal lip right there and the temperature probe right here, and this is designed to stay away from that temperature probe so it doesn't interfere with that. And then we have a solid base here. Now these, you can see, are just circular holes, but raised a little bit, so any drippings that do come on here don't go through the hole and down towards the burn box. And because we also have the upper tray here, and you can see that there is a couple of different ways. So first, you can see this edge that rolls up. We want to actually have that rolled edge up, not down. That's actually designed so the grease doesn't go off the side. And then the other thing to look at is the holes. There's an oval shape and then the hole on one side of it. We want to make sure that that hole's on the lower side, so that way any grease that comes up here kind of rolls up on it and then goes off before it actually goes through that hole. So we're gonna put that on here. And then you can actually move this tray forward and backward to either line up with the holes below it or cover it a little bit, and that'll actually change how the heat is actually slowly or speedily, I guess, distributed through the upper grease tray. And then obviously you have, so just make sure you saw that because I did have it zoomed a little bit weird. We want to make sure that that is toward the upper side and the holes toward the lower side. And then we actually have our tray, or actual racks themselves here, and they just sit on the unit on both back and front. We are good to go. So we are good to start. And of course, like I said, you can shift that upper grease tray a little bit to adjust how it actually heats up. But of course, you're going to actually learn a little bit more about that as you use the unit. So I'm going to actually let's get some pellets in the actual hopper. So I think, excuse me, the first time I cook, I'm going to try the premium Texas blend. I've actually heard I have another buddy that has one of these grills, or his dad at least has one of these grills, and he definitely recommended this. So I got one of the Texas variety. I also got one of their Fruitwood varieties as well. And you don't have to use Green Mountain Grill's pellets, but they do recommend it, of course. Why wouldn't they? And I'm just going to go ahead and cut this. Just open up a little bit. There we go. Nothing too extravagant. I'm not going to pour a ton in there right now. I do want to actually show you before I actually start pouring that there is a sensor in here. So you can see down here, there's the auger all the way at the bottom. And we do have a sensor right here that actually tells us if we're running low on pellets. Obviously, if you fill this hopper full of pellets, as it comes down, the sensor is going to be tripped once it drops below that level, and it's going to let you know, especially if you have it set up with Wi-Fi. There is a trapdoor on the back side. You can see back here, which I'll show you back here as well. We'll kind of demonstrate this later, but basically this will allow you to take all the pellets that are in the hopper quickly and easily out without having to scoop every single bit of it out. Quick and easy. Now this does not come installed, so you will have to install that as part of the installation process, but it'll tell you in the instruction book on how to do that. And if you already bought this from a dealer, that's probably already installed, but a nice addition in my opinion. Alright, so we're just going to go ahead and feed some pellets in here. I'm not going to go crazy with it. Set this over here. Alright, so we have pellets in the hopper. We got the pellets in the burn box. Now I'm going to actually take all the guts out of here so we can actually see what's going on as we start it. Alright, so here we're going to show you how to turn it on. So obviously we have the power switch. I already have it plugged into the wall. If we kick it on, you can see where it says off currently. We're just going to hit the up arrow to go to cycle 0. Now cycle 0 is going to actually feed the auger and make sure that there's pellets that are actually feeding in. Right now, because there's no pellets actually in the auger, it's just filling the auger full of pellets. So once this gets to cycle 1 though, for the first time, because there is no pellets in that auger, we're going to actually want to stop it and do a cycle 0 one more time. So this cycle should take like 66 seconds or something like that while it fills the auger up. Once it does that, we're going to go to cycle 1, and then we're going to bring it back down to cycle 0. So we'll give that a few seconds here. So put that shade on here so you can see cycle 1. We're going to actually cycle it off. Then we're going to put it back on and cycle it back up to cycle 0. And now we should be good to go. So it'll go from cycle 0 to cycle 1 automatically. We'll just let it go after that. Now from the hopper side, you can see we are right at the low alarm here. But the pellets are slowly moving as they slowly get sucked into the auger. Now from the hopper side, you can slowly see the pellets actually move as they get sucked into the hopper. You can see the low pressure guy here. So now we are on cycle 1, and the light is blinking. We are actually seeing smoke coming from the actual box itself now. Now of course, with all the other items that would actually typically be in here, we are covering everything. Yep, there's some more smoke. Hopefully, good to see what goes on here. So that basically what is happening is that rod down in there, right there, is getting nice and hot, and those pellets will eventually get to the heat point where they'll self-ignite. Is kicking on now. Some oxygen going on in there. So we're just going to go ahead and sit here and wait for it to actually do its ignition phase and see what happens. Actually starting to see a spark there, or some hot embers at least on one of the pellets. Now, from what I can tell myself at least, I think this would be a lot shorter if I actually had it covered and less of the heat was actually coming out the top of this firebox. It's not designed to actually run with it being open like this, but I want to make sure that you guys see at least what's going on with this actual ignition system. There she goes. And now that obviously that all the pellets around that system are actually going to be nice and hot, so it's going to actually go ahead and go. It's not going to. It's going to take long for that whole box, I think, to be on fire. So that is what it looks like to actually heat up. Now I'm going to actually throw, well, before it gets too crazy, I'm going to throw all the pieces back in here. Not that I'm going to say this is recommended for most people, so that's why I'm not going to do it on video, but I'm going to get the pieces back in here, and then we'll go from there. So now that we have the grill up and going, and you can hear the blower fan actually kicking on, still going here, we actually have an internal temperature that actually is being sent over to the box here. This is actually reading the internal temperature of the actual grill currently. So because it's not near as cold as it was this weekend, but inside it's saying 63 degrees. It's actually come 64. It's going up from about 55 just a minute ago. And that's going to continue to climb until we actually set an internal temperature that we want it to actually go to. But we're going to go ahead and let that climb up and burn off at least all the internal stuff. I'm not going to actually cook anything on this initial setting, and it's actually recommended, to be honest, at least in my opinion, to let this thing get up to temperature and burn off anything from the factory that you don't want in your food, right? There's paint, there's a lot of stuff in here, so we're going to want to get this thing up to temperature and let it burn off all the stuff that's actually inside there. So from here I'm just going to go ahead and let it sit for a little bit. Smoke's coming out the chimney stack, a little bit around the door here, but let her go for a little while. So while the video does not do this justice because the video camera is not picking up the red lettering like your eyes do, just trust me that you can see this a lot better than what you can see it on the video. So that said, but we're at 112 degrees inside right now. We're just going to let that continue to climb. It's probably going to it should get to that 150. That's usually the set stage. And then I'm going to go ahead and crank it up a little bit. And yeah, this is just kind of the initial setup to take your time and get it to where it needs to be. Now you can see Raider Outdoor Pour is actually where I got this grill at. So plug to those guys. Really nice guys. If you're in the Dubuque area, you can definitely go over and check them out over at Raider Outdoor Power. They actually have them on display. Highly recommend checking those guys out. Talk to Casey over there. If you actually tell him that you saw the grill here on this channel, he may throw something in. I asked him. He said he may do it. So definitely check those guys out. Phone number 556-2071. They're not paying me to do anything with that. I'm just really good guys over there. I know a lot of the guys over there, so they're good guys. That's it. 120, so we'll let it keep going. While we're waiting for the grill to get up to temperature anyway, I did want to point out the actual casters, the wheels that this guy comes with, these are really solid. These are really nice. They're not cheap wheels. They actually put some nice wheels on the back side of it. On the hopper set we have on the hopper side of the handle side, these are locking casters that you can just lock into place just by stepping on them. Fairly small, simple ones up front, but all you have to do, there's actually a handle on the hopper. You lift up the handle, it brings these two off the ground, and then you use the big guys to actually wheel it around wherever you're going to go. And then the smaller ones just for maneuvering, around small things. But well done putting some good casters, of course, Green Mountain grills with green caster wheels on it, so that's pretty awesome. But no, really solid wheels. It was just fine on even my junky asphalt that I have around the back side of my house, because I have a back driveway that basically this goes on to. So, but yeah, I just wanted to point those out. I did want to point out the couple things that I didn't show you earlier. The actual wrench that it does come with. This is that 10mm wrench to do everything. Should have pointed that out earlier, as well as the shelf. This shelf, which does allow you to actually take it down. This does slide off. It just has these 2 pin hinges, so it doesn't come on the grill. It just slides into place on these 2 hinges, and then the bar kind of hooks on this lower guy here, and then gives you a nice solid shelf with hooks for all of your grilling utensils that you would typically use. And then of course you saw the bucket down there, just has a bucket hook for the actual drip pan. So quick and easy there, quick and simple. Just throw that back stuff up there, and then we'll just wait. We're at 135, it looks like now. So I'm kind of happy that it said this. This is the low pellet alarm. So you can tell that if I open it up, the low pellet alarm goes off, but if I close it, it goes back on. So it's telling me that there are not enough pellets in the hopper. Specifically, if you're actually going to want to continue, so I'm going to go ahead and put some in there so it's not going to be that. Kind of happy that happened. And see, now it's not going off anymore. So it's still at that 133 or whatever. I'm going to go ahead and actually start increasing the temperature and set it to, I'm going to go ahead and set it to like 250. So 250 degrees, that's what we're going to set it to. You don't have to wait till it gets to a certain temperature to do that. You can go ahead and set it. But 250, that way it gets hot enough to, well, maybe I'm going to go a little higher than that. 300 sounds good to me. So that's exactly what we're going to do. It hasn't been that long, to be honest. Of course, I let it sit for a while when it was at that 130, 140 area. But she's at 273 already. I think the actual initial stage must have go to 125. That's a guess. But she's at almost to 300 already. It didn't take very long for it to get there. So I'm going to actually, I think, increase the temperature again. So I just want to get it hot enough to burn anything off there. Let's set the temperature for a little while before we actually do the shutdown. So I'm going to shoot for 400. Even at the temperature, it's in the high 30s right now here. So, but yeah, she's running awesome right now. I set it to 400. She's at 400, and it didn't take. But I mean, since it was last I was here was 2:30, 50, not even 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes, just over 5. And to be honest, it's 8 minutes since then or so, and I came out here and it said 400, so I don't exactly know what time it actually got done. So it heats up fast. She's putting off some heat. So I'm gonna let her sit at that probably for a good 10-15 minutes to let her cook off any of the good stuff in there. Let's give her a try while we're doing it, I guess. Let's find out. 500. They say 500. Let's see what happens. No problem. 500 degrees. Now, it didn't take even 5 minutes to get there, so that's pretty awesome. So now we're going to go ahead and go put it in shutdown mode. We're just going to hit the down arrow to bring it all the way down till we get to 150. Let's bring it down faster. And now we're on fan mode, which is going to should be what we have to do it on, I think. And fan mode is not going to create any more thing. It's just going to run the fan and cool her down, essentially. Let the rest of the pellets that are actually in the burn pot burn off, and then we'll be in cold shutdown. So once the fan cycle is over with, and basically that fan cycle is to burn off anything that's left in the actual hopper, and then blow out any of the ash that's actually kind of sitting in there, as best as it can at least. It'll say off. When it says off, then you're actually okay to actually power it off, because it's not doing anything anymore. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Now, as soon as this gets cool enough to me actually be able to, touch the grates, we're going to open it up and see how much ash is actually in there. Now, this isn't actually a full grilling cycle, obviously, because I'm not cooking any food on it, but it'll give us an idea of how clean the actual unit itself actually burns. So, something to start with. I do want to point something out here on the lid while we're still waiting for it to cool down here. The lid is removable, so while it comes to you basically on, you can actually remove it. And how you do it is you actually, while it's open, without it being hard pressed, you actually lift up on it and then continue to open it, essentially. Now it's going to actually not want to do this. It will have to slowly kind of work its way out, but it does pop itself out. So if you do need to remove the lid for whatever reason, you can actually do that. And then to put it back on, you kind of get it back into the grooves on both sides, and then kind of work it back and forth until both sides drop down, and then we're back to set to how we used to be. So that is that. Now also in the cold shutdown stage, within the hopper itself, in the lid, they are going to actually give you instructions on how to use this and what the different cycles on the front actually mean. So that's that. Alright, so we have the grill. It's fairly cool. I'm not going to say it's cold. It's still warm, that's for sure. We're going to actually slowly bring these out if I can here with my fingers. Right out of the gate, you can definitely see some ash around the actual unit itself, and of course it's going to have ash, especially at the end with the fan mode. It's going to kick off any of the ash that wasn't actually burning out. So when we were actually burning it, I was checking on it ever so often. I didn't really see a whole lot of this, but fan mode is going to kick that out. So you're not going to want to have your food in there during fan mode is probably maybe the best way to put it. Well, that guy is still a little warm, so we're going to give it a few more minutes. Alright, it's been a few extra minutes here. Let's see if we can get this out of here. It's still warm, that's for sure. I can't say it's super hot or anything. I'm not burning my hands, obviously. But I don't know what the lower section is like. Because obviously, the temperature will change depending on where I'm at in the machine here. I'm just really interested to see what it's like down below. Now that we have one unit on here. So let me get a little closer here. So you can see there's definitely some ash here throughout the system itself. Which, that guy's still a little warm. I think I can get it out of here. Try not to do anything unsafe, but at the same time, try to do it on the video here, so. I don't know. It's one thing to actually start touching it, it's one thing to hold it for a long period of time. It might be fine. Yeah, we're fine. So there is how much ash we have left in the pot, which I can't say is empty, especially down in there. Sure, she's still hot. These are actually, some of those are still burning a little bit in there, and some of that will actually probably still burn out when we actually go. You can definitely tell it's below the blower line, so it's down below that, and that's obviously what we're talking about when we vacuum it out. Other than that, around the pot we do have some ash, right? And of course you're going to get that. It's a wood appliance. Even though it's pellets, it's still wood. You are going to get ash no matter what you do. But there's how much ash for at least going up to 500 degrees, running it for probably a good, I mean in total I think I ran it probably 45 minutes or so, maybe an hour, from start to when I actually put it onto the fan cycle. So yeah, there you have it. There you have it. So I did want to show you something real quick with the actual heat distribution box. If you notice, and this is actually in the owner's manual, if you notice that the temperature on your on the grill or on the outside is not actually matching what it actually should be, or if it's getting too much above that temperature. So if you set it to 400 and actually it's showing 420, that means we want to cool the grill a little bit. So that means we want to shift this to the right a little bit, or get basically the heat box a little bit further away from the actual sensor itself. Same thing with the opposite. If you notice that it's just not keeping up to temperature as much, shift this to the left or towards the probe a little bit. They say about a ½ of an inch shift per 50 degrees of difference you actually want to make. Otherwise, definitely start out with it in the center, or as centered as possible. So this, or that, is the Daniel Boone from Green Mountain Grill, at least the startup of it. That way you get an idea of exactly what you're dealing with when you're actually looking to do one of these or looking to set it up for the first time. Not hard, really easy. And I will have to say that I was impressed by how fast it actually changed temperatures. You know, I was actually expecting it to take longer to go between 200 and 400 and 500 degrees, but it got there, and it got there quick. To be honest, for what it is, it got there really quick. So awesome. I can't wait to actually do some videos. I'm going to do some more videos of actually cooking some things on here as well as some accessory reviews as well. Like you can see that I do have the grill cover. That'll be in a future video. I got the thermal cover coming, and right now thankfully it's still mid-30s, but today was a decent day aside from the negative temperatures we've been at, so that was nice. But at the same time, and that's what the thermal cover is for, so you can actually use this in a much lower temperature than average. So that's it. That's the Green Mountain Grill, Daniel Boone, and we'll catch you on another setup video. So other than that, definitely check us over on Tech Gooch. I will have some videos. A lot of the actually cooking videos, things like that, are probably on my Camp Geeks channel, so definitely check out Camp Geeks. I will post links to both those channels, but definitely check me out, and we'll catch you on a future video. We'll see you soon.